Hey everyone. So I'm about to head to the gym, but with it being election day tomorrow, I just felt compelled to make a video and speak, my mind on this because it's effectively going to be over tomorrow. I mean, it takes a while to count the votes, and there will be court strategies used by both sides and lawsuits and all this stuff, but it is out of our hands as a nation tomorrow, especially if it's a big win in either direction. And, I've really tried over the course of my life to educate myself on multiple topics. When I was in college, I triple majored. I did math, physics, and philosophy. I did research in physics, research in mathematics. And, a lot of my reading of philosophy, at least at 37, has led me to a very simple view on things. And that view is that you should have to endure what you condone. And you should ask yourself, if you're voting for Trump, would you be willing to endure what you condone? Would you be willing to endure watching your daughter bleed out in a hospital? Because, at least in Texas, abortion in nearly all cases is not allowed. And we're having women bleed out here. Georgia, same way. These other Republican states, women are dying at higher rates than before Roe was overturned. Would you condone that? Would you endure that? Because you certainly condone it for other people. I've in Texas, these ads about, the ads from Ted Cruz and Trump really all boil down to the trans issue. They really all boil down to this nonsense of, well, would you want your daughter to play sports with a boy on the team? If the options are my daughter playing sports with a boy on the team versus my daughter having to be forced to give birth, yeah, I'm fine with her playing sports with a boy on the team. I mean, what kind of insane dichotomy is that? Again, we're seeing the results of this. And a lot of times when I talk to people, my friends who, are going to vote for Trump or say they're going to vote for Trump, the conversations are normally the same, where their position is, we don't like the things he says, but the institutions, will keep him in place. Have you never read history? Institutions aren't real. Institutions are suggestions for people in power. They're not real. The president is the commander-in-chief of the military. And we've seen that in this nation. We've seen it with Andrew Jackson. We've seen it with Japanese internment camps. We have seen this nation and what happens when people decide to just give up the institutions. I think it was Andrew Jackson that in the Indian Removal Act, when the Supreme Court ruled against him, and his response was, let them enforce it. And you know what? They didn't, because they couldn't. So you have a person here who is saying what he's going to do. He is saying that he wants to use the military for law enforcement. A complete violation of the Constitution, by the way. You have someone who is demonizing immigrants and talking about mass deportations. Again, this has been seen throughout history. It's been seen with Stalin, it's been seen with Hitler, it's been seen in our own nation. And there is just this acceptance because the people that you think it's going to happen to aren't you. But the fact of the matter is we already see the consequences. As I said, you have women bleeding out and dying in Texas hospitals because doctors are just saying, no, I can't do anything. And, when the punishment for the doctor is up to life in prison, I certainly understand it. But if this is small government, which you all preach, well, it's a pretty fucked up notion of it. And so, again, the thing I would ask is, are you willing to endure what you condone? Because if he gets in office, this nonsense about the institutions will keep him at bay. That's not how this goes historically, and we know that to be the case. We have enough human data on this. And, I look for things to blame for how Trump, got to this position. And especially how white men got to. And I think the Democratic Party has fucked up in a lot of ways. I think that over the last, 8 years, there has been, maybe demonization is the wrong word, but there has been an effort on the Democrats to say, look, if you're a white man, we don't need you. We don't care. Societally, if you're a white man, oh, how could you have any problems? You're part of the patriarchy, all this nonsense. And so now what you're seeing is enough white men saying, yeah, fuck this party. I don't need it. And in fact, fuck this society. Men have dropped the ball completely. At the same time, when you have a group of people that are told that they aren't really allowed to be depressed, they're not really allowed to be sad because they're part of this patriarchy, this is going to lead to someone like Trump getting in power, whether you like it or not. There's no denying, as a white man, I have much more privilege, just societally, than any group of people. And in fact, if you asked me to trade with any group, I would not. At all. I would not. Well, with that being said, to have the position that, well, because of that, men can't have any problems at all. And now you have someone like Trump trying to get this bro vote, which I don't think he's going to get. I don't think they're going to come out. But, and women have everything to lose in this election, not me. Or people like me. But this false sense of masculinity that's being discussed and being propagated by these fucking charlatans. There's a reason it's catching on, and it's because there are no rites of passage in society. You turn 18, you're a man. So whatever that means. You're 17 and 364 days, you're still a child. 18 years, you're a man. You're an adult with all the consequences that has to offer. And there's no rites of passage you have to do. You just wake up and now all of a sudden you're a man. And no one teaches us what that means. And when you compare that or contrast that with the fact that adolescence is being extended with education. So, you graduate high school, a lot of people go to college. So now 22, and then if you go grad school, you're looking at 26, 30. Adolescence itself is getting extended, but again, at 18, you're considered a man. There's no wonder there's this sort of crisis happening with masculinity. And is masculinity a good thing? Is masculinity a bad thing? All these conversations that require nuance of what masculinity even is. But I'll tell you what masculinity is not. It's not a grown man wearing bronzer and makeup, punching down on the weakest members of society. That's not masculinity. Masculinity isn't being the loudest asshole in the bar. Masculinity isn't about being threatening or domineering. Masculinity, at least as far as I consider masculinity should be calming and protecting. Do you have the capacity for violence? Absolutely. But that's a last resort. I don't walk down the street and have to prove myself at every instance. But that's what's being taught implicitly, is that what is masculine is what is the loudest in the room. And the reality is the loudest person in the room is often the weakest. If you need approval from society, if you need to be told how much of a man you are, then that's not masculinity. And it's not masculinity in the same way it's not beauty. You know, when you see beautiful people out there, truly beautiful, they don't need to be told all the time. And so this vote for Trump that's coming up, it's Trump versus Harris. And a lot of men out there view it as you know, non-masculine to vote for a woman. That's fucking stupid. Your options right now are true fascism, or most likely the status quo. I mean, that's the reality of the situation. Harris is not going to change your life. Harris is not going to, you know, clean up pollution. She's not going to get rid of economic inequality. This shit isn't going to happen. But, you know what? She's also not going to institute a Christo-fascist state. Because all those mass deportations that you guys want, they don't distinguish between who voted for them and who didn't. And that's the other thing. Once you allow law enforcement to run wild, that's what happens. And that's why I say, are you willing to endure what you condone? And so as you go into Election Day tomorrow, I'm not going to say vote your conscience, because that's a tired line. I'm just going to ask that. Are you willing to endure what you